Hello and welcome to Yap Back, the show where I yap and you yap back. I think we can all agree Dawntrail wasn't exactly what we were all hoping for, and as it now seems, it very much was a vacation of an expansion. The standing of writing and storytelling we normally expect from 14 just wasn't there. And I think a factor that plays into that is that we covered a lot of themes in Endwalker that we then covered in Dawntrail, especially in the second half of the expansion when we go to Solution 9 and we're dealing with the Endless and that whole concept that, there's this underlying fear of death and despair towards it that is kind of overwritten by their regulators. And so it is really like it's giving us another perspective that we experience in Endwalker, from it being a whole story about we're gonna die anyway, so let's just die now. Whereas the Endless provides a solution as such to we're gonna die anyway, so let's create a way to immortalize ourselves and continue to live on and live in memory, in living memory, no pun intended there. Yeah, and I think that's great, but I just experienced this story, and I think Endwalker was such a it was emotionally draining. It was a climax. There was so much emotion involved with the base game of Endwalker that having a palate cleanser of Dawntrail is fine, but I think then we really need to focus on one thing or the other in the expansion, because we obviously go through the 13th and 0 in the patches of Endwalker, and that's fine. That for me wasn't as heavy to get through as a lot of other for the rest of Endwalker was. So then going into 14, going into Dawntrail, it was one of those where we have this kind of slog of the trial, which is fine, but I'm just not invested. I'm not invested in this. I've known work for 2 minutes, and I don't hate her. I quite like her character to some extent, but it's not enough for me to really get invested in her hand in this, and her bout in the trial to succeed and have the throne. So it was one of those where we're either going to fully invest in the whole trial and actually give that whole scenario more time to be built up and experience it fully, and the end of it be work the mat, getting the throne and ruling, and then deciding to do it with her brother Kona too. That's fine. That would probably be good. It'd be better. I think at this point, a lot of things would be better than based on Trail, because we would have got the time for it to be developed and actually be invested. And I think it's that investment that we're so used to when experiencing Final Fantasy stories. It just wasn't there for Dawntrail, because it was split into two. And for me, I really enjoyed the post-patch quest exploration of Dawntrail, going into the different themes of a civilization now has to come together and kind of relearn what it means to die and what death is and how to cope with that, and have the possibility of having lost memories being restored. I think that was a really exciting storyline to delve into. But of course, we didn't have the time to delve into it, and it's a lot of that. We just didn't have the time to delve into these topics. But it's also we've already delved into these topics before in a different perspective, of course, but in such a much higher standard than we are experiencing it now. So I think for me that was my biggest gripe when it came to Dawntrail was it was just this underlying current of like I've kind of been here before, you know. I haven't got like I've been here before, but I've been here before when it was a lot better. And I think for me, I think that's why I enjoyed Dawntrail, to some degree. But I think that's why so many people had such mixed reviews and negative reactions to it, was because of that, like this underlying like we've kind of done this before. Um, Not to say that that's not ever going to happen. I think it's going to happen. That you're going to go over themes again and again. I think it's just how those themes are delivered and what points they're delivered in, which is quite important. Because obviously, at this point where we're at the end of Dawntrail, and we've got the new expansion being announced, and just the feel and vibe of that, the whole, oh, it's just a summer vacation, like, oh, there must be more to it feeling is now sort of like compounded as like, yeah, Squeenix know that they messed up, but also it was just a summer vacation. Um, so then, yeah, could we have done more fun things, fun wacky things, um, and put more out there, I guess, to explore and engage with that are loose threads we can sort of tie back into now. Because right now, it's very much like the New World and Terral and Solution 9. It's like, they were nice, but again, they're quite forgettable. I don't think we're gonna go there again. When you compare that to Garlemald, it's like, or even the 13th Shard, like we've gone back there already. We've gone back to Garlemald already, and that's cool because that keeps things moving. It keeps this attachment to the world, which is really fun and engaging to see how the stories are developing there. But there's not necessarily that much for us left to develop in Terral and in Solution 9 either, as of like right now. Partly because I don't think people want to come back, but also, yeah, like because of the lack of development, there's not any deep seated mystery that people want to engage with or explore or figure out. Um, as it kind of all got covered and wrapped up, so we can move past it. I think as fast as possible. Um, so yeah, I think it is the theme of death and despair again, which is why, you know, that it makes you have such a mixed reaction and makes Dawntrail feel like a slug, to get through at times, because I there were some parts of the story I did really enjoy, and moments that hit, but those moments hit because I already have real life experience in similar situations that evoke that emotional response in me to react, to have an emotional reaction and an invested reaction to the scenes, especially like Nanika is a great example of when we see her again in living memory. For me, that hit home to a good level. Like it was a good level of hitting home writing, where I was emotionally invested, and yeah, I really appreciated that scene a lot, and that really hit close to home. But again, that's just like one scene where it's like, if you think back to Endwalker at that like same time period, at that time period in Endwalker, I'm walking alone. I can barely see because I'm just crying, because it does feel like the weight of the universe is on your shoulders, and all the memories. That makes for such an impactful moment. Or even seeing Amarok for the first time, and experiencing, the Ascian sort of, not necessarily their way of life, but having that experience within their cities and understanding their workings a bit more, and understanding and having compassion for what Emmett had. You know, that was such a big factor into you having compassion for his his mission, his charge, what he's trying to succeed, and the same with Elidibus in the post patch quest. It goes seamlessly together. Whereas you go back to Dawntrail, well, I'm not invested in the like the trial for the throne. I am more invested in Solution 9, but Solution 9's got maybe a half of the expansion at best to be explored. And yes, it does get better in post patches, but it's just not enough for me. So like my overall verdict is that Dawntrail was enjoyable. Some things hit, most things didn't land. It was in some ways an experience that was a vacation, but not one to remember. I think that sums it up. I don't mind like seeing Sveen again. I don't mind seeing. I really don't mind Booklemat as a character. It's one of those. I'm just neutral towards her. I like Sveen. I like Shale. I definitely like the Solution 9 side of things a lot more. Whereas like the Terrell story arcs just didn't really. They were fun to a degree. I say that loosely, actually. They weren't memorable. That's what I'm trying to say there. They didn't stick anything where in my memory where I'm just like, oh, that scene was amazing. So yeah, I think Dawntrail was an expansion that could have been so much more. Or at best, it should have just been a shorter palette cleanser of an expansion, which, to not dismiss the hard work that obviously the developers and writers all put in, but I think it's one that could have been probably a shorter expansion in the shadow of Endwalker and Shadowbringers, and just acknowledge that. But hey, that probably wouldn't have landed any better than Dawntrail did anyway. So let me know in the comments how and why you felt certain ways about Dawntrail. And as always, please like and subscribe for more content, and thank you for listening. See ya!